Good morning. Oh, hang on. I will. Yeah. Good morning, everybody who's coming through from the waiting room. I'm Rob Burley. I'm Director of Care Campaigns and Support at Muscular Dystrophy UK. So we'll just let people come through from the waiting room, and then we'll begin. Okay, I can see that the numbers from the waiting room have leveled off. So welcome everybody. Apologies if you heard me say this already, but I'm Rob Burley, Director of Care Campaigns and Support at Muscular Dystrophy UK. I'm hoping to be joined by Portia Thorman, Advocacy Lead from SMA UK, and Andy Thornton, a Trustee of Treat SMA. They have having a technical issue joining us, I think. So I will press on with the session. Do the introduction and a bit of an overview of where we are in the treatment appraisal process. And I hope they'll join us to explain more about the process and their role within it. But if not, we'll just go for, I'll provide as much information as I can, and then also take as many questions as possible. I may well take questions away and be in contact with you individually, or also when we put the session online at a later date. Our normal session for these webinars are an overview of some of the latest research into the condition, and then a session on living well with the condition. We've taken a different approach to this SMA one because of where we are in the process of the appraisal of two treatments for SMA: Spinraza or nusinersen. So those names are often interchangeable, and risdiplam or Evrysdi. Again, sometimes interchangeable names. I'll probably stick with Spinraza and risdiplam as the easiest ones that I'm used to using. The plan is to just recap where we are in the system around accessing those treatments currently and appraising them shortly, and then hopefully give you the information you need to take part in the appraisal process if you would wish to, and I'll explain how you can do that as part of the session, and also to identify questions that we can take into the process, either to come back to you with more information or to relay to NICE and to the companies involved. To help us manage the session today, we're using the Q&A function on the Zoom, so we won't be calling on questioners to ask their questions directly, but if you could use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, I will work through the questions as and when, just ping them in as they come up, and I'll try and take them either during the session or certainly leave space at the end. Before we begin, a quick note that our helpline is available to anyone affected by muscle wasting conditions, so do please contact us if you have any questions or are in need of any support. We can help you with information, and we can either support you directly or point you to where you can get that support. And we may also, of course, signpost you to our partners, SMA UK and Treat SMA, who we work very closely with and are working with on this appraisal. I thank you to our two sponsors today, Biogen and Roche. Their support is much appreciated. And a reminder that the session is being recorded and will be made available over the next few days once we've completed the session. So I'll start with a brief recap of what the two treatments are. So Spinraza belongs to a group of medicines known as antisense oligonucleotides. I've bound to pronounce that wrong, and is essentially a synthetic antisense oligonucleotide, which is a small piece of man-made genetic material that targets the SM2 gene and enables it to produce more functional full-length SMN2 protein. It's delivered via a lumbar puncture, and that's delivered within a neuromuscular treatment center. Risdiplam is a small molecule drug that also targets the SM2 gene to produce more SMN2 protein, and that's taken in a liquid form with a prescribed dose based on weight, and that can be taken at home, but is sometimes also still given in a neuromuscular center, and it needs to be stored in a refrigerated setting. Once Andy and Portia join us, they both have direct experience or experience via one of their children of those two treatments. So I will turn to them when they join us in order for them to give a bit of experience. But I'm conscious that many people on this webinar will also have experience as well. Currently, both treatments are available through what's called a managed access agreement. And you may be wondering, why are we talking about a treatment appraisal now when these two treatments have already been looked at by NICE? Spinraza became available after NICE first looked at the treatment in 2019 and risdiplam in 2020. At that point, NICE's conclusion was that there was enough evidence to suggest a benefit from both of these treatments. They were looked at separately. Enough evidence of benefit from the treatments and that they were clinically effective. But partly because of the rare nature of SMA, there wasn't enough data or evidence at that point to make a full decision. So what's called a managed access agreement was entered into, which allows the treatment to be made available through the NHS whilst further data is collected. So many of you will be part of those MAAs potentially, and you'll have full experience of the kind of assessments that are made during the MMA to gather data. Those MAAs are time limited, which is why we're now coming to a point where NICE are appraising them again. So effectively, we've reached the point where the two MAAs are coming to a close. NICE are now ready to look at all the evidence again, so they go through the appraisal process once more, using the evidence from clinical trials, but also from the evidence gathered through the MAA. So this will be a fantastic point in order to bring forward everyone's experiences and the clinical evidence that's been collected as we move. As where we are now is that NICE have decided to appraise both treatments together through what's called a multiple technology appraisal. So this is effectively looking at two treatments at the same time. When we circulate the link to this recording, we'll also circulate a link to a previous seminar that myself, Andy, and Portia took part in that kind of explains the sort of nuts and bolts of that process. Whereas today I'm going to be discussing more actually about the themes that might come up in the appraisal. What a crucial point to note, though, is that even though the two treatments are being appraised together, they're not being appraised head to head. So the aim of the appraisal process isn't to decide between one of the two treatments, although an outcome could be a recommendation for both, a recommendation for either, or potentially a recommendation of neither. And we obviously are hopeful that that won't be the case. So some of the tests and the assessments that were being made during the MMA process, again, many of you will be very familiar with this, were things like physio assessments and answering questions and completing patient-reported outcomes. So in terms of the key dates, this all feels a long way off, but it will happen very quickly. I'll work backwards in reverse. So NICE is aiming to produce final guidance on both treatments and publish that on the 4th of December of this year. So at the end of the year. To get to that point, there'll be a full NICE committee meeting on the 2nd of October. And we're currently in a stage called the assessment report consultation. So the full appraisal actually kicked off in January. So that's a long sort of window, and there've been some what's called pre-appraisal stages before that. A really key date for us is working together as the patient group. So SMA UK, Treat SMA, and MD UK are working together on that stage of the appraisal, and we have until 19th of April to submit our view on the treatments and the appraisal process. And to do that, a crucial role for the three patient groups is to bring forth the views of the community and allow people a chance to sort of feed in through us. That's a strange part of the NICE system, is that at the moment it's very difficult to take part as an individual. So doing it through a patient group is really important, which is why we have sessions like this in order to be able to bring forth your views. So we've launched two surveys to help us do that. One survey for carers and one for people with direct experience of the condition, so living with the condition, who have experience of risdiplam and Spinraza. And that survey is open until the 17th of March, so this Sunday. So we're in the final stages of that survey. When we met and released the last webinar, our key message was how important it was to take part in that survey and to share your experiences, because NICE will really value hearing those experiences. And it's really key that you bring them forward. We've had a really good rate of response, so that's fantastic. So if you have taken the survey, thank you very much. If you haven't taken the survey, I really hope that today gives you the impetus and the knowledge of what you might want to say to be able to do so. And we'll be circulating the links with the recording of this, and they're available on the MD UK website, on the Treat SMA website, and also on the SMA UK website. that's the sort of information about the survey. So moving on to kind of the content, there are two, as I said, there are two surveys. I've just lost the Zoom screen slightly, so I will give me 2 seconds. I'll just check where I am. So the two surveys are, one is for carers, as I said, and one is for people with direct experience of the condition. In terms of the people with direct experience of the condition, we're asking, the survey will ask you a number of questions, and it will ask you how easy you found it to access the treatments, the benefit you feel of how it is accessed, so not the benefit of the treatment itself, but how it's accessed. So I've talked at the beginning about how the two treatments are accessed differently. Any negative aspects about how a treatment is accessed. And then we also will ask you to give us your experience of your view on how the treatments have had impact on your muscle strength, on your respiratory function, on your ability to swallow, on fatigue, on your mental health and your quality of life. And we'll also be asking about whether you had experience of switching between the two treatments. Also, we'll be asking in the survey around what you experienced in the tests that you might have had to take part in if you were part of the MAA. And that's because we want to be able to say to NICE whether actually we feel that there was maybe some benefit that wasn't captured in the MAA process. And that's been something that's happened in previous appraisals at this stage. So we really want to kind of get your view on whether you felt that the tests you were taking part in as part of the MAA were able to kind of allow you to bring forward the benefit of the treatment. In terms of the carer survey, we're asking some questions around your experience of being a carer, as well as the treatment itself. So some information around whether you're having some extra support as a carer as well. So have you been able to find funding for carer or nursing support? And are you able to get some respite as a carer to help meet your needs? We want to understand and relay to NICE the impact on carers and mental health and well-being of the condition, the impact on your social life, on your relationships, and on your finances, and also just general carer quality of life. And then there's some questions about whether you feel that the treatments have impacted on your quality of life, either hopefully positively or potentially negatively as well. And again, we'll be asking from your perspective as a carer whether you felt that the test that the person you care for really captured your experience of the treatment accurately. You may have noticed I've not been joined by the other speakers yet, so I will just have a look at the chat, and if you've got any questions. So in the chat you can see the link to the survey. I'm very happy to take questions, and apologies that we haven't had our two speakers, so Portia and Andy. One thing I will add is that a key part in the NICE process is the presence of patient experts. So although anyone can take part in our survey and feed their views in through us, and at a later stage you may be able to take part directly in a consultation with NICE, but that's far later in the journey. A key part of the NICE process is to have patient experts at the committee meeting to answer questions and give their experience of the treatment and of the condition itself. And we're delighted that NICE have selected Andy and Portia, and also Lucy Frost, another trustee from Treat SMA, who's a parent of someone with a condition. So Andy lives with SMA, and Portia and Lucy are parents of children living with SMA. So hopefully we'll be able to present the broad experience across the community, and they have experience of both Spinraza and risdiplam between the three of them. So that'll be really crucial. So I'll pause there and see if any questions come in. Otherwise, I'll end the session there. So apologies again that we haven't had the two speakers. We may seek to reschedule, just have a kind of fuller discussion, maybe reflect on the survey. Just checking if anyone's asking any questions. Great. So thanks, Deborah. So Deborah shared that she's had a fantastic experience of risdiplam. So Deborah, if you haven't yet taken part in the survey, do please track it down and find it, because actually that kind of experience would be fantastic in terms of those vignettes from the community. That'd be really, really crucial. So thank you. I'm very pleased that she's doing well. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. So Lorraine has shared that she is that she sort of is benefiting from some of the treatments, and also that she's appreciative of the work that we're doing as the patient group. So thank you. So someone's so asked if any sort of new therapies are available. Well, so currently the two therapies we're talking about today are risdiplam and Spinraza. There is also Zolgensma, which is a gene therapy, which is available on the NHS through through a small number of specialist centres. So we're not talking about that today because that has been appraised. At a later date, we'll summarise sort of further research ongoing into SMA and whether more treatments will be coming forward as well. But currently, it's a newly diagnosed patient as of today, depending on, so the MAA is still open. Anyone diagnosed today will, based on the view of their clinician, will be able to access, if they're eligible via the sort of the type of SMA they have and various other clinical concerns, should be able to access either Zolgensma, Spinraza, or risdiplam, even though the latter two are available through the managed access agreement. So we had to. So someone was asked how patients were put forward. So NICE seek nominations for patient experts. So we nominated people with direct experience of the condition. It's one of the challenges of the NICE process is it can feel quite closed until there's a public consultation. But hopefully through the survey, and if you want to get more involved in some of our activity around the appraisal itself, so sharing your experience, then do get in touch with us and we can help to mobilise your view into the So someone said they feel a certain level of anxiety around losing access to Spinraza or risdiplam. I think that's very understandable. In previous appraisals, so I would need to clarify the situation here, but in previous appraisals where this has happened, people who've been on a treatment at the point, even if there were to be a negative decision, in other cases, and we'll need to seek clarity on this from NICE just to see how that would pan out. But if you're on a treatment, you don't lose access to it, but that will need to be confirmed. So someone else has just shared their experience around feeling stronger and having less chest and health infections. That's really great to hear. Just going to check I've not skipped over a question. So I think I'll thank you very much for joining us this morning. I hope that's been useful in some way. And again, sorry that Andy and Portia couldn't join us. Do keep in touch via the info line if you need any help or support. And I will bring the session to a close. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.